The Classic Nerd!
My game collection is pretty small, but if you look hard enough, you may find something good. But if you keep looking, you may find something pretty bad. Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. Really? This is a bad game? It's a Castlevania game. But it's a mixed opinion sort of thing, where some people love it and some people just love to hate it. Is it worth playing? Is it worth trashing? I don't know. Let's get to the bottom of this game and just make our own opinion. How about that? The game starts with an opening cutscene. It's just a wall of text and ugly artwork. The artwork here doesn't even know what it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be anime? Or is it supposed to be a cartoon from the 1980s? To sum up the story, Dracula is back to wreak havoc on the town of Transylvania. You control Richter Belmont. You have to save your lover Annette along with her younger sister Maria, and defeat the evil Dracula to bring happiness back to Transylvania. Stage 1 is basically a tutorial stage. It gives you something to attack, but nothing too hard to kill you. It shows you how to climb staircases, jump from one platform to another, and teaches you that even though the level may have multiple paths, only one path is the correct one. You start off with the iconic chain whip, also known as the vampire killer. Richter is restricted to only being able to whip in two directions. Compare this to Super Castlevania 4, where the player was able to whip in a total of 8 directions, and you realize that Dracula X is steps backwards from a game that came out 4 years before it. Because of this, it makes Dracula X seem pretty lazy in my opinion. You collect hearts for ammunition so you can use items, and you have a good array of items to choose from, but I prefer the boomerang and the axe. The background in stage 1 is a nice way of using Mode 7 graphics. It makes the town appear to be engulfed in flames, which is badass. Here's the first boss. A demon dog that growls like a cat for some reason. Its main attack is jumping at you and spitting fireballs. The boss isn't even hard. I have yet to take any damage to the entire stage. And like that, the demon dog is dead. Collect the disco ball and move on. From what I gather, the background image during the stage clear part is actually a password to access the next stage. What kind of password system is that? Why not use numbers or letters? Why have it be various objects you have to put in a certain order in a 3x3 pattern? The song in stage 2 is from the first Castlevania game. Now that is awesome. In fact, all of the theme songs from the 3 NES Castlevania games are present in Dracula X. Stage 3 uses the theme song from Simon's Quest, and Stage 6 uses the theme song from Dracula's Curse. Hearing these songs is like hearing the voice of an old friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time. The difficulty seems to be a bit higher in Stage 2 than it was in Stage 1. There are more enemies on the screen at the same time and a wider variety of them, as well as more enemies that throw projectiles. These guys in the purple fencing suits are annoying! They use their giant spears to deflect items thrown at them, and their spears are longer than your vampire killer. The boss at the end of Stage 2 is a gigantic bat made up of smaller bats. Guess what? It's not hard either. 2 stages down and I haven't even taken any damage yet. Maybe people are saying this game sucks because it's way too easy. I don't get it. Let's keep going. I like the design of the background on this level. It makes me wonder, what creatures were so bad that Dracula decided they need to be behind bars while he let skeletons, zombies, fishmen, demonic dogs, and giant bats roam free inside the castle? Also, the sprite work in the game is really spot on, as well as the animation. Richter walks with such determination, and the whip animation is very fluid. You can tell what everything is supposed to be, and that is awesome. Now we're getting into a more difficult part of the game. The enemies are clustered together and you really need to focus on your actions. Remember when I said you have to save Richter's lover and her younger sister? Well, you actually have to find them in the castle. Maria is pretty easy to find. You just have to get this key and bring it to the door to unlock it. On the other hand, where the fuck is Annette? Well, let me ask you something. Would you think of looking for Annette on this board? I didn't know this when I was playing the game, but you're supposed to whip this waterfall to access a hidden door that leads to Annette. What kind of shit is that? The waterfall blends in with the level. Aesthetically, it makes sense for it to be here because the bottom of the screen is flooded. What a cheap trick! Another thing I learned too late was that Richter has a special attack called the Item Crash. Richter basically summons the energy to fire countless projectiles at once, damaging every enemy on the screen. The boomerang is a good item to use for the Item Crash because Richter throws all the boomerangs, but they also fly around the room on their own will, dealing even more damage. The music from Dracula's Curse plays as you climb up a giant clock tower, just like you do in Dracula's Curse. The background design is perfect. You get to see all these gears moving and there's so much detail packed into the background. The boss at the end of stage 6 is a giant skull. But before the battle begins, you see Richter's girlfriend being consumed by the giant skull right in front of him. The skull and Annette fuse together and you basically have to kill your own girlfriend. How fucked up is that? I know that if you saved Annette back at the waterfall, you'd actually be fighting death itself, but again, I didn't know where she was during my playthrough, so I had to fight the giant skull. This battle puts things into perspective. If you don't save the girls, they will die. It's not just a game where you defeat the bad guy and the princess or your girlfriend or whoever appears next to you during the end credits. Annette died because I didn't save her, and now I have to finish off her soul so she can rest in peace. Again, guess what? The skull isn't a hard boss to beat, but its eyes float around the screen, and if you aren't careful, you're bound to hit them. There, Annette can rest in peace, but Dracula won't. Dracula, I'm coming for you! The music here is fitting for the task at hand. There he is, the Prince of Darkness himself. As a side note, he looks so bored to be here. When he sees you, he springs into action like saying, "Finally! I've been waiting for you to arrive. The battery on my phone died 2 hours ago. Where were you?" "Alright, motherfucker. I'll make you pay for making me kill my own girlfriend." Yeah! You're dead, motherfucker! Hell yeah! Ah! Dracula has a second form? Just like in every Castlevania game up to this point? Yeah, real shocking game, real shocking. Dracula has been defeated. What follows is another cutscene with artwork that doesn't know if it wants to be Vampire Hunter D or the Smurfs. And finally, the end credits. Now that's pretty depressing. The credits rollover is still an image of Richter and Maria with Annette's silhouette looking over the two. That's Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. Was it a bad game? I have mixed feelings. First off, the game is way too easy. I don't think I got hit once during my playthrough. It's not challenging or fun. Compare this to Friday the 13th, a game I said that I would recommend everybody to play it. I said that because the game was challenging and rewarding. Dracula X has no reward except getting revenge for Annette, and even that was my own fault. So is that even a reward? I like the sprites in the game. I think they're well drawn and the animation is pretty smooth. I also love the music throughout the entire game. But there are entire stages that have nothing exciting going on in them. And that makes for a very boring playthrough. In total, the art and the music doesn't save the game. I say Dracula X is worth trashing. Dracula X is not a fun game to play. There are way too many flaws and it's just too easy. It's like a game where you can't lose, like Disney Infinity or something like that. You gain nothing from playing Dracula X. Maybe if you have 30 minutes to kill, then maybe play it, because it only took me 30 minutes to beat Dracula. It's a 30-minute game. If you're a serious Super Nintendo collector, just ignore this game. If you're a serious Castlevania collector, ignore this game because it doesn't deserve to be called a Castlevania game. It's not a Castlevania game. The only thing that has in common with a Castlevania game is that you get to defeat Dracula inside of a fucking castle. It's still a shit game.